The CEO tried to crush a single dad's old $120 car in broad daylight. What happened next left an entire city speechless. The crowd gathered under the bright afternoon sun, expecting entertainment. Phones were raised. Cameras were recording. Employees stood in neat rows outside the glass headquarters of one of the largest automotive companies in the state. A massive steel crusher sat in the center of the parking lot, waiting for its next victim. At the edge of the crowd stood a faded, dented, 25-year-old sedan with peeling paint and a cracked front bumper. It looked like a car that belonged in a scrapyard. Most people wouldn't have paid more than a few $100s for it. But for one man, it was worth more than all the luxury vehicles parked nearby. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of ordinary people overcoming impossible odds, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more hearts around the world. The owner of the car was a single father named Rowan Mercer. At 38 years old, Rowan looked older than his age. Years of hard work had left lines around his eyes and roughness in his hands. Since losing his wife, Marissa, to a sudden illness 7 years earlier, he had dedicated every waking moment to raising their daughter, Tessa. Life had not been kind. Medical bills had emptied their savings. The small house they once dreamed of owning was gone. Rowan worked long shifts repairing appliances during the day and delivering packages at night just to keep food on the table. Many nights he returned home exhausted. Many mornings he woke before sunrise. Yet somehow he never stopped smiling when Tessa looked at him. His old sedan had become a symbol of survival. Years ago, after losing nearly everything, Rowan had purchased the vehicle from a retired mechanic for only $120. It barely ran. The seats were torn. The engine rattled. Most people laughed when they saw it. But Rowan spent every spare evening repairing it piece by piece. The car carried him to work. It carried Tessa to school. It carried them through storms, hardships, and countless difficult days. Most importantly, it carried memories. Thousands of memories. The kind money could never replace. One sunny morning, Rowan received a notice from the city regarding an automotive promotional event organized by powerful CEO Vivian Cross. Vivian was famous throughout the business world. She had built a billion-dollar company by transforming old vehicles into modern luxury machines. Intelligent, ambitious, and relentless, she was admired by investors and feared by competitors. Her latest marketing campaign was called Crush the Past. The concept was simple. Owners of old vehicles could trade them in for discounts on newer models. During the public event, selected vehicles would be dramatically crushed to symbolize moving forward into the future. The campaign attracted huge attention. What nobody expected was that Rowan's car would become the center of the event. Weeks earlier, one of Vivian's assistants had photographed the sedan in a grocery store parking lot and entered it into the campaign as an example of an outdated vehicle. When Rowan learned about it, he was horrified. The company had mistakenly assumed the car had been abandoned and arranged for it to be transported to the event site after a paperwork mix-up. By the time Rowan arrived, the sedan was already positioned near the crusher. Panic surged through him. The bright daylight seemed harsher. The crowd felt larger. His heart pounded as he pushed through people. He explained repeatedly that the car belonged to him. Security stopped him. Staff dismissed him. Nobody listened. Then Vivian herself appeared. Elegant and confident, she walked across the stage while cameras followed her every movement. The crowd cheered. She began speaking about innovation, progress, and leaving old things behind. Then she pointed toward Rowan's sedan. The audience laughed. The vehicle had become a joke. A symbol of everything outdated. Standing behind the barriers, Rowan felt something break inside him. Not because of the car's appearance. Because nobody understood what it meant. Nobody knew the story hidden beneath the rust and faded paint. Nobody knew how many tears had fallen inside that vehicle. Nobody knew how many dreams it had protected. As the machinery prepared to move, Rowan finally managed to reach the front. His voice trembled. His face was flushed from desperation. The crowd fell silent as he begged them to stop. For a moment, Vivian appeared annoyed. To her, it looked like an interruption. A delay. Another obstacle in a carefully planned event. But then Rowan did something unexpected. He reached into the glove compartment and removed a small worn notebook. Inside were years of handwritten entries. Repair records. Fuel receipts. Notes written by his daughter. Old photographs. Tiny memories preserved between yellowed pages. One photo showed a young girl missing her front teeth, smiling from the passenger seat. Another showed Rowan and his late wife standing beside the same sedan years earlier. The laughter from the crowd slowly faded. Rowan explained that after his wife passed away, he couldn't afford transportation. He couldn't afford much of anything. That old sedan had been their lifeline. Every repair represented a sacrifice. Every scratch represented a story. Every mile represented survival. People began listening. Really listening. Even Vivian grew quiet. But the most emotional moment came when Rowan carefully unfolded a drawing made by Tessa when she was 8 years old. The picture showed their family standing beside the sedan. Above them were the words, "Our forever car." The crowd became completely silent. A gentle breeze moved across the parking lot. Even the camera crews lowered their equipment. Vivian stared at the drawing. Something in her expression changed. Something nobody expected. Because hidden beneath her success was a memory she rarely allowed herself to revisit. Years earlier, before wealth and fame, Vivian had grown up with a struggling father. He owned an old pickup truck. The vehicle constantly broke down. Her classmates mocked it. She hated riding in it. Only after her father passed away did she realize how much that truck had meant. It wasn't transportation. It was sacrifice. It was love. It was everything he had worked for. Standing there in the afternoon sunlight, Vivian suddenly saw Rowan's sedan differently. Not as junk. Not as scrap metal. But as a living collection of memories. The crusher remained idle. The crowd waited. Then Vivian walked toward the car. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. She gently touched the faded hood. The rusted metal reflected the sunlight. And for the first time during the entire event, she looked emotional. Company executives exchanged nervous glances. Sponsors whispered. This was not part of the script. Then a historian from the crowd stepped forward. He had been quietly observing the situation. After examining certain details on the vehicle, he asked permission to inspect it more closely. What happened next shocked everyone. Beneath layers of repairs and modifications, the sedan turned out to be an extremely rare early production model connected to a limited automotive manufacturing project decades earlier. Very few examples still existed. Collectors had been searching for surviving versions for years. The historian contacted several experts. Within hours, confirmations arrived. The vehicle's market value wasn't hundreds. It wasn't thousands. It was worth well over $200,000. Gasps spread through the crowd. Reporters rushed forward. The same car people had mocked all morning suddenly became priceless. Yet Rowan barely reacted. Because while everyone focused on monetary value, he cared about something else entirely. The memories. The people. The life attached to it. Vivian noticed. And that realization affected her more than the valuation itself. Because Rowan would have protected the car even if it were worth only $1. The value existed long before experts assigned a number. The following week, Vivian made a public announcement. The "Crush the Past" campaign was permanently cancelled. Instead, the company launched a new initiative called Honor the Journey. The program celebrated stories behind vehicles rather than destroying them. Owners were invited to share memories, family histories, and experiences connected to their cars. The movement quickly gained national attention. Rowan's story spread across television stations and social media. Letters arrived from strangers. Many shared stories of loved ones, sacrifices, and meaningful possessions. Others thanked him for reminding them that not everything valuable shines like new. Months later, Vivian personally helped fund Tessa's college education. Not as charity, but as recognition of the lesson her family had taught the world. On a beautiful spring afternoon, Rowan and Tessa drove the restored sedan through town. The vehicle looked better than ever. Fresh paint covered the body. The engine purred smoothly. Yet one thing remained unchanged. The old drawing stayed inside the glove compartment. Exactly where it had always been. Because that piece of paper was the real treasure. Not the car. Not the money. Not the headlines. The love. The memories. The family. Before we finish, if this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who believes that true value cannot be measured by appearance or price. Special request: comment below with the words, "Every memory matters," if you believe the most valuable things in life are often the things money can never replace. As the sun set that evening, Rowan glanced at his daughter in the passenger seat and smiled. The road ahead remained uncertain, just as life always is. But one truth had become clear. Sometimes the world sees rust where there is history. Sometimes it sees junk where there is love. And sometimes, when people take a moment to look deeper, they discover that the greatest treasures are not hidden in vaults or bank accounts. They are hidden in ordinary moments, carried quietly through life by ordinary people who refuse to give up. And that is exactly what made a forgotten $120 car worth more than anyone could have ever imagined.